Okay, our next sweep we're gonna call flower sweep. Now, this sweep is commonly confused with what we call breakdance sweep, but this sweep is much more explosive from like a stagnant position and explosion. It's not a momentum sweep, not a huge energy sweep where we're just building a frame and exploding with the right timing. Okay, so on this one, I'm gonna hold the elbow, but you can also hold the sleeve. I generally prefer to hold the elbow on this one because I have a little bit more pull, a little bit more control. Okay. I like to also, before I even get started with this, I'll pull him in a little bit, make sure his elbow's a little bit close, so it's at least in front of my hips. I am gonna open my guard here, so I don't wanna open my guard and have his elbow inside of my leg. It's very important to me that I have his elbow forward, so that when I put my foot on his hip, his arm is in front of my leg. If he was able to pull his elbow back, then I wanna go back to close guard. So I'm almost considering this a close guard sweep, even though we are opening the guard, right? It's very low risk to to actually show an open guard. Okay, so the two grips we're going to make is one on the elbow and one on the bottom of the pants. Okay, some people like to hold the knee, but I find generally the knee is very hard to grab because some people have quite tight pants. Okay, so we're going to grab nice and low on the pants. Make sure you don't put your fingers inside. This is an illegal grip. Okay, we're going to grab with our fingers on the outside. Okay, and with our elbow leaning against the mat. Okay, foot goes onto the hip, hips are gonna come up, and I'm gonna clamp. Also gonna give him a hug with this leg. So I'm keeping him in a position that still feels very similar to closed guard. Now at this moment, his balance is very endangered, right? So the moment when he tries to move his shoulders a little bit to maybe open my guard or even stand up, do anything, that's the time that I'm gonna lift my hips, straighten my leg, bump him over, getting him off balance. Then look, I bend, punch up, and when I'm halfway up here, or leaning on my elbow, it's a critical time that my partner's really gonna be fighting me a lot here. He's gonna wanna get back up. He's really gonna want this arm back to get back up. And if I let it go to get up myself, he'll recover his arm. So it's very important here that I let go and pass that arm off before I let go to post. Follow up with heavy hips and coming straight to the mount. Okay, so I'm grabbing, pulling him forward a little bit, make sure his elbow is basically resting on my belt or hip area. Okay, grabbing the end of the pants and placing my foot on the hip. There's also a variation of this sweep where you put your foot just to the floor and do the same thing. Okay, but as you can imagine, you're gonna have a lot more lift of your hips, a lot more weight going into the torque of your partner's shoulders when your hips are higher. Okay, so I don't want to use just my leg by itself. I'm gonna bring my hips up. So I'm moving the heavier part of my leg to knock him over. Okay, like I want to slap this part of my foot into the ground. Okay, so up, over, bend my arm, lift, punching to the sky. Okay, and right about here is that part where it's basically going to make or break the position here. He's going to be really fighting me to get back up. So I make sure I have to switch off the arm, hand on the floor, and follow up with my hips tight. Okay, I'm also clamping, pulling my heel into his lower back, giving him like a good hug with this leg, keeping my knees tight because I know once he realizes that he will not be able to recover to the top position, he's probably gonna start pushing my knee here. So I really have to land with a tight knees, tight grip, and probably ready to pull this elbow up to settle my position. This is a great close guard sweep. Give it a try, flower sweep.